some more Halloween costumes that I don't want to see this year.
It's not your fault that history can be so complicated.
Sexy, beloved childhood characters.
Are these Halloween outfits actually offensive? Or is the woke left just intent on having a problem with everything? Hey guys, it's Jack. Welcome back to my channel, and I am so glad to have you here with me. So this is a new little series I'm going to start on woke TikToks. Thought I'd join the game here because first of all, it's hilarious, and second of all, it is mind-boggling, some of the stuff that's being put out there, and it's great to have counter-arguments to the kind of stuff our young generation are being exposed to on TikTok. Today is Halloween. I thought I'd start off with a Halloween special. So we are discussing cultural appropriation in Halloween costumes. So are there lots of costumes which once upon a time were relatively unoffensive, harmless, but now are a huge insult to various cultures and should not be worn? And if you like my content, please be sure to like this video, subscribe, and comment down below. I'd love for as many people to find my content as possible. And with that being said, let's jump straight into it.
There are some more Halloween costumes that I don't want to see this year. Except this time it is cultural appropriation. First up is the Native American woman, or Native American princess. Next is anything Day of the Dead themed. The Day of the Dead is a separate holiday. Next is anything like this, or like this, or like this. Oh, and this. The drunken Mexican stereotype, men or woman, the Bollywood, and then the last one is this Maui costume. Now, I don't have an issue with anyone wanting to be Maui. Hawaiians, if you do, please inform me. I just don't know. But my issue is with this costume specifically, because it is inflatable and gives the child a dark skin tone. Thank you.
All right, Kelly. That one has over 1 million views. What makes you the arbiter of what people can and can't wear? You know, you say, these are the costumes that I don't want to see anyone wearing this Halloween. I mean, who made you the Halloween costume police? You're turning something that is relatively harmless, in my opinion, to something very bleak and unnecessary. If you don't want to see these costumes on Halloween, why don't you just stay home and let the people have their fun? It's just hilarious to me how we have people who are not from these cultures even coming online and telling people what they can and can't wear. And then even on that last one, she said, so I have no problem with this if you do it this way, but if you have this thing, then I do have a problem with it. I mean, who cares, Kelly? Who cares? Next. This one is titled Script for Parents.
My wife wants to dress up as a Native American for Halloween. What made you think of that? Yeah, you really love watching Pocahontas, don't you? And you love her pretty clothes. Did you know that Pocahontas was a real person? Except that wasn't her real name, and the true story was a lot more complicated than the movie. We can look it up together to learn more about her life and her culture. But basically, people and cultural groups like Native Americans that have less power are often treated badly, made fun of, or hurt in different ways. So when a person or a whole culture is reduced to just a costume that we can put on and take off, without us really understanding the meaning behind it or the struggles those people have been through, it can feel hurtful to them. Like, when I was a kid, a popular costume was hobo, which was just sloppy clothes and pretending not to have a home. But we wouldn't do that now. We didn't mean anything bad by it, but it made light of a serious situation without us appreciating how difficult it really is for people who don't have a place to live. I know you just want to wear the costume because you love the movie. It's not your fault that history can be so complicated. But since we're not from an indigenous culture like Pocahontas, and we'd be wearing clothes like hers just for fun, we should choose a different costume. Maybe you could dress up as an explorer to honor her bravery, or you could pick a costume celebrating our culture.
So we're seeing a pattern here. This is another white person, and no, I'm not judging her for her race, but again, some sort of white savior that's come along to say, I am going to model this cultural appreciation and cautiousness for all of these people who potentially are actually not screaming about this and have far better things to talk about. I agree with the hobo thing because you're dressing up as someone who is in that situation because they are suffering. And if you're homeless, that is obviously a very difficult form of life. But if you do dress up as Pocahontas, why does that have to be reducing someone to that element of their culture? Who's saying that I'm reducing you? Why can't it just be an homage to that culture? And fair enough, maybe Pocahontas is simplified, but every historical tale in animation is simplified. for the sake of children's understanding. And you have a little kid who watches Pocahontas and is inspired by it, likes Pocahontas, who in my opinion is a highly feminist character and actually a great influence. And the kid is harmlessly saying, I want to be Pocahontas for Halloween. And then in walks this creepy mother who's like, why don't we talk about her culture and we can learn together? You know, the statement of leave kids alone is one to be considered, because let kids be kids. They don't have to understand about all of this. These people were oppressed. Therefore, we cannot wear any outfit of them. It always comes back to, is anyone in this day and age being oppressed? As a white man, did I oppress Indigenous people? No. Do I respect them? Yes. So why can't we lighten up a bit? This have to be so serious all the time. There are certain things in life that we can be offended by, but merely for the fact that we are choosing to be offended by it. So by someone dressing up as Pocahontas, she's not reducing anyone to something. For all we know, she might learn more about Native Americans and Indigenous people because she's wearing the outfit. But because Lindsay here comes along and polices her, what sort of message does that send out to her? Now she has to go around overthinking any choice she makes. And I highly suspect that her kid didn't even do this, and she's just creating this whole script for parents. Again, someone who comes along and says, I have all the expert knowledge, I'm going to educate you. And the fact of the matter is, lots of people disagree with this, so you don't need to educate all the parents. If anything, you could say some people find this offensive, some people don't care. That'll be more balanced. Creepy.
So this might be one where I lose some of you. I hope it's not. A time of year again where I think it's good to remind you that this is offensive and you shouldn't wear it. There is a whole history behind headdresses. Just don't do it. There are over 560 tribes in North America alone, and reducing a culture to this really is offensive. About as offensive as this, except for the whole history of colonialism and exploitation. There's so many other costumes. If you want to be something weird and sexy, consider sexy caution tape or sexy beloved childhood characters. Thank you, Yandy, an endless source of holiday fun. If you want to go over the top, Natasha Zinga's got your back for $1,135. And remember, sexy banana bread is still very much on the table. $4.30, people. We can do better.
Well, you know what? You said I might lose you here, and guess what? You lost me. Out of all of them, I think this has the most to unpack. He says there is a whole history behind headdresses, therefore it's offensive and you shouldn't wear it. So by that logic, if I dress up as a vampire, of which there is a lot of history, goes back a long time, many different tales pertaining to many different cultures, does that mean that it's offensive? I don't think so. There are lots of tribes in North America, therefore, if you wear this, you're reducing it. Why? Can we not just celebrate an element of it? You know, this could be a character from Peter Pan. There's Native Americans in Peter Pan. Can we not dress up as a character that's fun? Oh, God. So the Karen one, whoever thought of this, is brilliant. And she says, this is offensive. You know, I can only suspect that it's probably because it's portraying her. This is her. For the fact that it doesn't represent colonialism and exploitation. I was never a part of colonialism. Sure, my ancestors were, but I don't agree with it. I've never partook in it. Also, the people alive today did not suffer it. Sure, like ancestors and ancestors, but you know, there's a point where we want to actively adopt intergenerational trauma instead of just be freed from it and say, you know, sucks, this happened in the past, but I'm not going to look down on every white person because their ancestors made a decision. See what I'm saying here? And then the costumes that she recommends, they are the most random things ever. Would she not just say dress up as a ghost or a vampire? But instead she has a costume of Barney, which is a children's TV show, and the costume is basically sexualized. You can't dress up as an Indian, but you can turn a child's TV show into a highly sexualized outfit. I'm not sure about that one. Final comment about sexy banana bread. Am I missing something here?
We often get bombarded with the reminder that culture is not costume. And with a long history of celebrities doing things like this, or this, or this, along with the rise of the fox eye trends, people getting surgeries to look Asian, and people identifying as Asian, There's been an increased conversation around things like Asian baiting and why cultural appropriation is disrespectful. But I think a very commonly neglected part of this conversation is, where does this desire to appear Asian even come from? And it's an important conversation because it stems from Orientalism, ornamentalism, racial fetishization, and misogyny, and is tied with the history of Western colonialism and imperialism in Asia.
How many isms can you fit into a woke video? Misogyny, colonialism, racial fetishization, imperialism. Babe, we're not following anymore. Don't get it. Sure, talk about one thing, but add all this other stuff in. Inevitably, people are going to get lost. I'm glad that this person, for once, is not white and she's actually talking about her heritage. That's a step in the right direction. And I just want to say that there's a big difference between someone identifying as Korean and trying to make their face look Korean than someone paying an homage to an outfit that they enjoy and wearing it for Halloween or a performance. I mean, aren't these geisha outfits a form of art and expression? Katy Perry, she looked good. And it's interesting how the first picture she showed was of Little Mix, because they have infamously split from Jessie Nelson. They don't talk to her anymore. I believe this was largely due to the accusations the other three were making against her for blackfishing in her videos. And, you know, she did a whole conversation with Nicki Minaj where they were saying this is ridiculous. Nicki Minaj was agreeing with her. Also, the other three Little Mix characters are apparently a culprit of this. So not only can you not dress up as a geisha, fair enough, but even having an Oriental themed outfit is offensive and misogynistic and fetishization. Is this the hill you want to die on? Your fight? That you want to just come online and waste your energy on this? I don't get it. I don't argue with that. This girl Tegan is very well versed in the history of the issues here. But the fact of the matter is, why is wearing this outfit meaning that you agree with the subjugation, discrimination, Orientalism, misogyny, racial fetishization? It doesn't have to be that complicated. Sometimes it's just an outfit. And sometimes we can just let people be. Let them have their fun.
Hey guys, I told you guys I was gonna give you 3 Halloween looks. This is look number 1. Pocahontas. Am I giving Poca? Am I a cute Poca? Y'all, Halloween vibes, Poca. But yeah, guys, this is look 1. And yeah, just rate it for me,
Are you serving Poca? I have to admit, that one was pretty funny. I think she looks great. It is sexy but tasteful. She's just having a bit of fun. Leave her alone. Of course, the internet went crazy at her for doing this. I think potentially doing that thing is, you know, a little much and she's sort of mocking there. But at the end of the day, who cares? Who cares? I think she's serving Poca. I'd like to talk a little bit about my culture. So I'm from Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. Grew up there until I was 19. And believe it or not, some white people have culture too. It kind of seems like when we talk about cultural appropriation that we only refer to the black, brown, indigenous folks, as people would like to say. But a lot of this other, as the woke left would deem cultural appropriation, kind of slips in there with white culture, but no one seems to bat an eyelid. Brief history. Were Irish people oppressed?
Yes, indeed they were.
So when America despised the Irish, the 19th century refugee crisis. So when Irish people were forced to flee from their homeland because of famine and political upheaval, the Irish endured vehement discrimination before making their way to American mainstream. And this happened because the British invaded Ireland. They created laws that actually deprived us of our rights to worship our religion, vote, speak our own language, own our land, have horses and guns. Interesting fact, I speak fluent Irish because I went to an all Irish speaking school, but you know, now this language is a thing of the past really. It's more of a cultural thing you might learn, but for the most part, the majority of people don't know how to speak it. So colonized, hashtag colonized. So under armed guard, food convoys continued to export wheat, oats and barley to England while Ireland starved. So if you're not aware of the potato famine, potatoes were a key form of nutrition the Irish people lived off and depended on. Then we had this potato famine. And because of the British rule over us, in which we didn't have access to other food. Many Irish people died. For a lot of the rest of them, they actually emigrated to America, where they faced more discrimination. And in the United States, they were not happy with us at all as refugees. They said we were stealing their jobs. Irish people were given the most remedial, low-paying jobs. And we even saw advertisements in newspapers such as this one saying, "Help wanted, no Irish need apply." But you can see how Irish people who are white actually suffered quite a lot because of colonization, because of the US, because of Britain. Does that mean that I'm still bitter about it and judge Americans and people in the UK? No. Did this happen to me? No. Did current Americans do it to me? No. Did current British people do it to me? Also no. So how do people appropriate Ireland, do you ask? Well, you may be familiar with the holiday St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day!
Which I can only assume most Americans have zero clue what this is actually about and why it was created in the first place. And you typically are familiar with the St. Patrick's Day parades, in which everyone dresses up in green and as leprechauns, and there's a heavy culture to do with drinking. So, in my opinion, you guys could look at this and say, you're reducing Irish people to stereotypes and the fact that they are just drunken, loudmouth leprechauns. Interestingly, this holiday, if you call it a holiday, festival, day of celebration is even more popular in America than it is in Ireland, even though they're not Irish. You talk about appropriation. I have not met a single American that does not claim to be Irish.
Happy St. Patrick's Day! Hee hee! St. Patrick's Day is a big deal because we like to celebrate it and pretend we are Irish. But
I am Irish.
half Irish, I think.
My great-great-grandmother was Irish. Yeah, you're not Irish, actually. You're American. You have some Irish heritage. Now, do I care? No. Let them believe they're Irish and that they're not actually pretty boring. It is most celebrated in the US. Need I say any more? Stereotyping? Absolutely. Everyone's wearing green. It's all cute. I find that personally very offensive. I mean, for a person of color to appropriate my culture is so offensive to me. The only criticism I have of this video is that the dance routine is obscenely basic. How dare you reduce me to a leprechaun? How about America's favorite cereal, Lucky Charms? The only Irish character to feature on a cereal. I'm saying.
Orion, so she and me as they come from Ireland.
Ah, come on, she shot me. You're all the petty title.
So offended, a bunch of drunk people wearing green, and then the Irish person is, of course, a leprechaun. And not only is he a leprechaun, but you are not able to discern what he's even saying because apparently our accent is that hard to make out. I find this stuff offensive? Absolutely not. Let people have their fun. Stereotypes come from a true place. And sometimes stereotypes are just funny. And you can make a haha joke and then move on with your lives. Going back to The Simpsons, you may be familiar with Groundskeeper Willie.
Drunk, I can barely see, but it helps me get through another day. My stomach is filled with haggis and ham. I've got to go puking some hay.
So we have an American sitcom, Hello America, again, I'm knocking at your door, portraying a Scottish character who happens to be a groundskeeper on a tractor, drinking beer, outrageously drunk, and talking about haggis.
So...
appropriating the culture much? Very disappointed with that, but let's check with a Scottish person and see what he has to say about this.
Saturday yoga class.
And this, the yoga instructor said to me, "You're Scottish, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I'm offended on your behalf." I went, what happened? And she said, "I'm offended," and this is true. She said, "I'm offended by the character of Groundskeeper Willie in The Simpsons." I was like, "What?" She went, "Yes, that is offensive to Scottish people." I was like, "Not really. First of all, it's a joke in a cartoon. And secondly, Groundskeeper Willie is in shape and has a job. I don't know how many Scottish people you know, but that's..."
Isn't it refreshing seeing someone being able to have a sense of humor these days? It's funny, okay? There's nothing harmful about it, and Scottish people don't even care. You see, we in the UK are slightly less woke than in the US, but you know, believe me, we are absolutely catching up. You may also be familiar with the character of Apu, who is an Indian character who runs a convenience store. So unlike Groundskeeper Willie, this actually has come under lots of scrutiny, and there was a documentary created called The Problem with Apu that accused this of racial stereotyping, reducing the culture down to this stereotype. Because of this and everyone complaining, they actually wrote him out of future episodes, and now he's just sort of in the background. He's not voiced anymore. I would just like to point out that The Simpsons is a whole cartoon based off stereotypes. Homer plays a stereotypical all-American father who is drunk all the time, is overweight, an idiot, spends his all day eating donuts. We see that again with the police officer, just a complete idiot, doesn't know right from left. So why are we just signaling out this one person? And again, stereotypes exist, you know. I know someone who's Indian, his family is Indian, and the father, guess what? Has a convenience store on the corner. These things do exist, and we can actually sometimes just make a joke out of it, and it doesn't have to be any more than that. Comedy has really changed, you know. It's not the same as it used to be. Everything is now politically offensive, and we're losing a big part of just being able to not take ourselves too seriously. And in actual fact, in contrast to Apu, Scotland responded very differently to Willie. They added them to the list of famous Glaswegians webpage on Glasgow City Council. In September 2014, Groundskeeper Willie featured in an official video in which he endorsed a vote for Scottish independence in the upcoming Scottish referendum. Okay, everyone, I am done looking at these woke TikToks and arguing my point. In all seriousness, I respect anyone who finds this stuff offensive. Personally, I don't really think it should be, just like I've showed with my culture, not finding that stuff offensive. And sometimes we take a step back and we can just ask, is this only offensive because I'm choosing to see it as offensive? And am I putting all of this past struggle and oppression onto other people? But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you agree with these Halloween outfits? Do you think that we should be able to wear them? How do you feel about cultural appropriation? What are you dressing up as for Halloween this year? I hope it is some sort of leprechaun. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.